Hi guys, this is Amanda with wonderwallcreations.net. Today I'm going to be starting a video series on some hand lettering hacks for you guys. Not everybody is a natural at doing hand lettering. It's something that's not easy for everybody. It's something that takes a lot of practice. A lot of people ask me how I got started, and I will tell you that when I was a kid, I just practiced doing all kinds of different letterings. So we're going to talk about some different hand lettering hacks that are out there. Some of the ones are going to be kind of obvious, and some of the ones are just going to kind of be do some tips and tricks that I have kind of found along the way. Our first installment of this video series is going to be the ever-present, always available, very easily accessed, very often botched up stencil. So, I've got a couple of different stencils for us to look at today. This first one is a Scripty Fence stencil. I believe that it's like a plaid brand. So it's meant to use with paint and like those pouncers. That's what they very often suggest. I have a horrible time using a pouncer, I will tell you. Those look kind of like a bingo dauber on the end. They're just the round sponge that you pounce on the top. I have a lot of trouble with the edges bleeding out on those, and so I don't do them that way. But if you excel at that technique, go for it. Awesome. What I will tell you about these stencils that I have found that I kind of hate is the fact that they unfortunately are paper. They're kind of a heavier cardstock, but they're still paper. So you can only use them like, probably one time is you know, unfortunate, but that's probably accurate. So, you know, we have our stencil. I'm just going to do an A and a B, I think, today. But, you know, we gotta pop it out. And if you want to, I guess you could probably save these inners of these letters and do that if you wanted, but that's a lot to keep track of. So I just throw them away. But what I'm doing, and I'm just practicing on some cardstock. I will tell you, one of the things that I will do, if it's a new kind of handwriting, or if it's a different style, or if I'm having a hard time kind of figuring out where I want it to lay on my canvas, I always start out with a scratch piece of drawing paper. This is like a watercolor paper. This is just cardstock. Underneath of it, this black is just some poster board. So really whatever you have around the house is fine for you to kind of practice on. I don't even always practice with my paint markers. I'll practice with a pencil or a Sharpie, or I'll bring in some of those cheaper paint markers that I've trialed and errored with and don't like as well. I'll bring those in and work with those and save my nicer, fancier stuff for later. If you are just a person who likes a lot of practice with everything being the exact feel that it's going to be when you use of something, then you would want to use the paint markers that you use for your project. So, you know, there's always a couple of different ways that you can do stencils. I think it's safe to do a stencil with a pencil if you are doing a dark letter afterwards. So, you know, you got to make sure that you're holding down your stencil pretty heavily. You know, you can choose if you want to, a lot of people, if you're going to use a pencil, I will say draw lightly, or maybe even use like a lighter lead, not like a number 2. This is a number 2, obviously. It's a mechanical pencil. It's what I had laying around the house. But, you know, some of those sulfite drawing pencils are not as heavy of a lead, and so they're going to provide a softer drawing. I'm telling you today that I'm doing a pretty dark line just so you can see it. And so I am getting done with my A. And so my A is done. Okay, so we see the A is the A. It's a pretty perfunctory A. If you want to zhuzh this up, there's some ways that you can zhuzh it up. So one of the ways that you can do that is to just kind of extend it. One of the biggest ways to make this stuff look better is to fill in these little lines right here where they have to have the paper. See, they have to have the paper here to keep it all continuous. But if you fill in those lines, that does make it look better, and it makes it, you could possibly pull it off as being something that you did kind of all on your own. So you're just going to, you know, draw that all in. like so. Cool thing about stencils is that they already draw the lines. The bad thing about stencils is that they already draw the lines. For somebody who's used to not having the lines there, I find it very painstaking to put the lines there. It's very frustrating for me because I can't just go with the natural curve of what I want to do. Now, if I so wanted to, I could add some embellishments. I could add another curlicue on this, you know, add that in there. If I was, you know, working on this up here at the top, we could add some more. We could add like another like a spiral coming out. So that's one of the cool things, is that the stencils do lend themselves to like a you can fancy up the letters a bit and make them look make it look nicer. And that also takes away that, oh, did she buy those plaid stencils I saw at Walmart on sale? It takes away that option, you know. So that's cool. And so there's a lot of cool stuff that can come out of that. So as you can see, the letter kind of starts to take life as you add in the marker, and you can do your thing with it. I also, when I have things like this, I get a little fun, and I like to do a little Zentangle kind of stuff. If you don't know what that is, you've got to check it out. But just like little lines and things like that, just to kind of mark it up, make it look a little fancier. If you're just doing like a Sharpie thing, I will tell you these Sharpie Ultra Fine Points are cool. I also really like the Micron pens, but unfortunately, as my husband can attest to, I was just hunting up and down to try to find my Micron pen just a few moments ago and was unable to locate it, unfortunately. But if you could see my desk, which you probably can right here in the background, I have a whole lot of stuff going on. So you've got some options within this that you can make it to where it's fancier and it's not just a canned stencil, and you can make that look nice. Here is the downfall, unfortunately. If I make my A, and my A is here, and that's all cool and fine and well, and I decide I want to do a B, then, you know, the cool thing is if I'm just doing the alphabet, well, then I just lay that back over my A and I know where my B is supposed to be. Unfortunately, most of the time, our words do not go in an alphabetical type order. So then we run into the challenge of kerning. If you are unfamiliar with what kerning is, then you're not married to a font snob like I am. But kerning is the space in between the letters. And if you have uneven kerning, your word is going to look odd. It's going to be if you have too much letter too close, or then you have the bigger space as you are writing out a name or whatever word you're trying to do. So kerning is very, very difficult with a stencil. It's not for the faint of heart. If you have a lot of money to buy stencils, then you can absolutely lay out your word design and make sure that your kerning is correct. Now, people who have a natural inclination to lettering, like myself, I find it very difficult to mess with the kerning because I just feel like that I could have already been done. But if you want to spend that much time and energy in it, cool, awesome. I want to show you that that is an option today. So we have these fancy plaid. Like I said, if you're using paint with these are going to very quickly crap out. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 uses. Just saying. They're not going to come back very well. Another option is to go over to like the hardware section, and that's where these stencils came from. They're the 3-inch reusable stencils, and you know, they're made to make like signs on parking lots and stuff like that, unfortunately. So they're more heavier duty. But what I will tell you is that I have seen a lot of people do some really creative things with these. I am seeing a lot of people who will do the decoupage on the front and then just have a very simple letter like this, just in white. You know, they'll decoupage music, sheet music on the top, and then they will just have one of these, you know, have the letters say "It's a beautiful world," or "I think to myself, what a wonderful world," or things like that. So that's pretty awesome. I like that. So, you know, something that you can think of. I'm going to work on another A here with this bigger stencil. Some people like to masking tape down their stencils to kind of keep them held in place, or use painter's tape. I will tell you there is a difference between masking and painting tape if you have ever asked yourself that question, because I can attest that I myself asked that same question. The problem is that masking tape is far stickier than painter's tape and will pull off your paint. Just a quick tip for you when you're drawing your stencil: if you know it's going to be a line that you're going to draw through and that you're going to connect, you might not want to draw that line right here because you know that you're going to make a connection, or you may not draw that line here because you know you're going to make that connection. Just a thought for you, because otherwise you're going to have to go back through. Like I said, today I'm doing these with the pencil first. And then going back with paint, because like I said, we're talking about hacks. I want you to see that it is that easy to do a hack. If you're going to do a dark color paint, easy hack, easy way to do it. So you see I've gone through here and I've connected all of my letters. If I'm going through with dark paint, you absolutely don't have to have these open lines. I just wanted you guys to see that the letter was starting to form. Alright, and I'm going to use the paint marker. This is just a painter's silver marker. I'm actually going to do this silver color so you guys can see what would happen if it wasn't a dark. This one's a dual tip marker, which is kind of cool. It's got a fine tip on one end and a medium tip on the other. I'm pretty sure that Painters is the only person that I know that does this. I will tell you, I've not used the medium tip. I find that I don't use that much of a broad tip very often. So I'm going back through, and I'm simply outlining what is already there. You can make a choice to go over the line or inside of the line, but whatever you choose to do, stick with it to keep your line straight. The thing about this at this point is that you are going to have to color the inside. Some paint markers do that better than others. Some people would choose to paint. Then you're going to have to color and match paint, which is more difficult. This is not a very brilliant colored silver. I will tell you that it's more on the dull side. But I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to get it real close because I want you to see why we don't do the lighter color. You can see the pencil outline. So if we are trying to do a hack, we absolutely do not want to do a light color, because then our pencil line is going to show through and people are going to be like, oh, that girl used a stencil. That is not okay. So if we're trying to fool people, which that's what we're trying to do if we're life hacking, right? We want to use a darker color. So I'm going to try to pull a darker color for you guys to see. Aha, I found a black. I think a black will be great. So this is a black Deco Color opaque paint marker. They are probably middle of the line as far as price. They have a metal paint tube. Can't see how much paint you got in there, but they do have a metal ball for shaking to keep things from getting gooped up. This is also a fine line marker. Not an ultra fine, just a fine. Ultra fines will very often have that flat chisel tip, and I have found that that doesn't work so good. So, so we're going back through with our black paint marker. We're being very careful to mark on our lines, and we're even going to mark over the silver that was already there. Do-do-do, do-do-do. Here we go. There's an A, good for Alvin. And if you wanted to paint the inside, that would be easily done. If you are going to hand paint the inside so you don't waste your paint marker paint, I totally get that. But it would be easiest to do that with colors like white or black. Or even if you can come back and distress your letters later, if you're on wood and you can distress it, you can get away with hand painting it if there's not a quite color match. But I will tell you that any colors outside of the simple color, that's going to be hard to do. Even red, there's like 15,000 different shades of red. So if you're ever questioning, should I do this red marker and paint on the inside, the answer is heck to the no. Because Amanda from WonderwallCreations.net says no. She says no. And if you need me to remind you, I will say no anytime you need me to. So as you can see, that black marker does cover up the paint line, and so we get away with having these beautiful letters without having all of the work of having to hand letters. So it's a real easy, cheater way. If you find some cool stencils that are plastic and reusable, I'd love to know where you found them, because they are very pricey. So if you find something out there, I want to know where you found it. So let me know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and check us out at wonderwallcreations.net. Thanks.